Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 532, our top 5 deduction games.
5 or 6, 7.
For one of us.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
It'll just be 5 for me.
Your pool lists were so small anyway.
You're not wrong.
My top 5 is just all 5
All
of my
5
games.
of yours? Yeah.
My top 5 I don't think contains any of mine, so.
Oh, nice.
No, it does. It has a few.
Most of Andy's
Awesome.
are Nathan's games.
Yes.
Nice. The Meeple Nation podcast is sponsored by Game Toppers LLC. Head on over and check out their website. They have so many great options to improve and enhance your game night. Whether you just need a mat or a topper or a full table or any of the accessories, they've got what you need to make game night amazing.
We are the hosts of Meeple Nation. I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Andy Holiday.
And I'm Douglas Stewart.
We have a webpage. It's full of goodness. All sorts of goodness. Get your tail on over there and check it out. While you're there, send us an email at meeplenation@gmail.com. And if you are so inclined, we would love to have you as a member of the Meeple Nation Patreon group. Our Patreon link is right there. Our patrons make all the magic on the podcast happen, and we are so very grateful for them. So if you too want to be a patron, join us, follow that link, and we'll give you a crisp high five. Crisp.
I do love a good crisp high five.
All right, guys. We have an awesome podcast ahead of us, but before we get started, let's talk about a few of our gaming experiences that we've had recently. For about a month or so, consistently, we've had some friends of mine, a coworker of mine and his wife have been coming to game night. So Thomas and Brittany, they've been coming to game night, and it's been awesome to have more regulars show up and play games. And they're new to a lot of games, so it's been really fun to introduce them to just games that are just kind of blowing their mind. A few weeks ago, they picked out Dead Reckoning to play, and it was their choice. Like, hey, can we play that? And I'm like, oh, yes, yes, we can. And I pulled this out and started explaining it, and their eyes, I was just watching their faces, and as I was explaining the game, their eyes just kept lighting up bigger and bigger. They're like, this is amazing. It was fun to watch them play the game and fun to watch them learn and interact, learn that card crafting mechanism is done so well with Dead Reckoning, along with them wanting to be pirates and trying to upgrade their ships. The whole game was just amazing. But it was the funnest part for me was to see that experience through those new eyes and those fresh eyes to gaming. Kind of blew them out of the water. Pun intended.
Indeed. Side cannon, a blast.
Definitely see what you did there.
So yeah, I've been excited that they've been coming. We love having everybody at game night. I love when we get new people that show up consistently. That means they're having a good time. It's not just a one-off thing.
Yeah, I get like my neighbor across the street. He's come and he keeps cautiously like, are we really letting him come back? He's nervous, forgets rules real quick, and so he's like, I don't want to be a burden. It's like, we've been playing with Dave for a long time, so you're no problem. But speaking of game night at your house, Andy, we got the opportunity. I was a little late. You guys had already been playing, but I jumped over and joined the fray. We lost like lions, and we got the opportunity to play Marvel Zombies.
Dramatic pause.
Yeah, as I look at my notes again, because it wasn't Zombicide, but it's Marvel Zombies X-Men Resistance, and we were fighting, trying to attempt to take out the Alpha Sentinel.
It was the Sentinel for the first mission of the Sentinel box, and that is a ridiculously difficult mission.
It is, and we had a lot of. Oh, let's correct that real quick. Let's correct that little quick. Let's go back. Yeah, and we still lost.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great though. I love the Zombicide, the Marvel Zombies. These have all been really good.
I didn't know. Doug introduced me to Zombicide. I don't know, what was it, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, Doug?
I was there too.
You were there.
I was patient zero.
Yeah.
Yes, you were patient zero. Thank you, Doug. And I fell in love with it. I'm not a huge zombie, that genre of game typically. Right. It just doesn't, the theme doesn't really strike home for me very much, but I fell in love with Zombicide. and second edition anyway. When Marvel Zombies came out, I'm always leery about when there's IP that's like Marvel or Star Wars or anything. I'm always so leery about jumping into it. And I think I like Marvel Zombies more than Zombicide, which is saying a lot.
Yes.
Yep.
I love Zombicide, but Marvel Zombies, it is so good.
They're more scenario based and more thematic, so they embrace that theme really well. They embrace the IP, and I mean, but we had a blast playing with the presidents.
We did. Oh, that was so much fun.
Hilarious.
It was.
Presidents were hook, line, sinker for you for sure.
Yeah,
and pulled me very much into the game. But yeah, I have too very much enjoyed these Zombicide, the Marvel Zombies. When we did the Sinister Six and the Sentinel one, and I mean every chance that it's on the table, I'm excited to play.
Well, they did awesome with the table presence of the Sentinels too. They're just these big Sentinels that.
Yeah, it's massive miniatures.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, they're very, very well done, and I can't wait for Deceased.
Yeah,
I'm looking
DC
forward
version
to that too.
Which,
it's gonna be good.
I am all about. So very, very good stuff. There's also kind of a it uses the Zombicide system, or it's Zombicide adjacent, but it's the Dead Keep. I ordered that one. Really excited about that. So they keep kind of reiterating and making fairly interesting and intriguing games using the Zombicide system, and none of them have disappointed me yet.
Yeah, and hopefully they don't saturate it too much, because it's always good to go out on a high note, but it's a cash cow, so they're going to go until it flops.
Exactly. Well, I mean, but think about the fun. I mean, a few SaltCons ago, we busted out Black Plague and played as the Thundercats.
Thundercats, yep. That was way cool.
It was super, super fun. So there's just a lot of fun to be had. And it's fairly mindless fun, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Just a lot of dice chucking and moving around and trying to strategically move through the maps and kill hordes of stuff and get loot.
Well, I think that's what's great about it. I mean, it is. I guess you say it's kind of mindless fun, but at the same time, we lose a lot. And that's with us discussing exactly what to do. Oh, okay, let's do this. Let's try this. And dang it, every single time those stupid spawn cards will hose us every time.
Yeah.
And it's like things have to work out as long as this doesn't happen. And of course, that's exactly what happens every time, right? But I like how, for mindless as it kind of is, where you're just chucking dice, there's enough tactics in it to have it be.
That's true.
There's some crunch to it, right? So I
challenge,
and a huge challenge. I mean, we've played that Sentinel scenario 4 or 5 times. We haven't beat it yet.
Right.
Challenge.
I think that was
accepted.
the first one we played, if I recall, right? Because I remember throwing the hand once before.
No, that was a different one.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that one you're trying to steal Scott's keys,
right, and get an escape.
It was a different scenario.
Yeah,
in front of the mansion, but just a different situation.
Just a different scenario. We have the Sentinels attacking the mansion. Yeah.
Sounds like the gauntlet's been thrown though. So now we have to beat that scenario. No longer an option for us. It has to happen.
And failed. And accepted.
We'll see how many times we fail before we finally get it.
Yeah.
I wanted to just quickly mention a few games. I won't spend a lot of time on any of these, but Nathan, you recently introduced me and my wife and a whole bunch of people to Look at the Stars.
Andy was there too.
Yeah. I didn't really know what to think about this one at first when I kind of heard about it. This is actually a really fun little flippin' right, I guess.
Yeah, flippin' right.
Flippin' right's probably, but basically every player is going to be given a board that represents the night sky, and it's a black board, and you get white markers. And you're flipping over these cards that have basically different lines on them that you have to make your constellations out of, and there are rules on how you can place those in the night sky and how scoring works and everything else. There's some special cards. As the rounds go, you become more and more limited to the space that you can use toward the bottom of the board. It actually has a fair amount of thinkiness to it that I wasn't really expecting, and it's kind of fun to watch other players at the table who struggle with spatial relationships, because
yes, it
leads a lot to a lot of those, like where people are kind of looking at the card and then you can see them rotating their head, and then You see them rotate it the other way.
And then they reach in and
they're scrunched up nose. And then finally they just reach over and they have to like grab it and rotate it. And then like 2 other people at the table are like, hey, like, what are you doing?
It's awesome.
You've thrown me off.
That was great. That might have been my favorite part of that game, actually.
Yeah, I loved it. We all knew Dave was that way, right?
Yeah.
When we played it, the first time we played it with Doug and Richie, I was really surprised that both of them had some spatial orientation issues.
Well, for sure. Now, not as bad as me, not as bad as Richie. Richie really
Richie was stuck. Yeah,
he had to take the card, rotate it by his board every time.
Yep. Yeah.
But really, really enjoyable game. I think that it's very solid. Definitely not a heavyweight game, but if you like those flip and right games, and if you like, I mean, it'll play up to 8. So it'll accommodate a lot of people. It's a good game. It's one that I want to add to my collection. So as soon as I can get my hands on it, it's definitely one I want on the shelf. So
yeah, it was one that your wife had kind of an issue with, which was you were excited for her to experience it, and she had one of the larger challenges with it. And Carrie, Richie's wife, right away wanted to borrow it to start with their friends.
Yeah.
And this is on BGA, and I had some issues with it at first. If you're using your mouse to move the shape around, you click on it and then it shifts. And so you have to click and chase. But you can use your arrow keys and slick.
Nice.
So I've changed my irritation with that game and found that if you just use your arrow keys, you can get all those arrows where you want them.
Nice. So that's Look at the Stars. I really enjoyed that. I did have a chance the other night to teach Dave how to play Raising Robots. And that's one that I keep kind of trying to push because it's really, really good.
I
would like to play it again.
I would like to play it once at least.
Yeah, it's very, very enjoyable. Every time that I play it, I like it more and more and more. So that's one that we need to keep getting to the table.
And it's not Wingspan.
And it's not Wingspan.
What's wrong with Wingspan, Nathan?
It's not Raising Robots.
Okay, this is so weird. I am not going to understand the level of your distaste for Wingspan. Wingspan's great, but but no argument here as far as, I mean, I would rather play Raising Robots at this point. I do think it is a better game. I like the way the energy works. I like the way you go around, and I like the way you run you kind of run each line from left to right instead of working back in toward the left side of the board. Anyway, it just works, and it's got a fun theme and a lot of little expansions and modules that we need to try and plug in there. And then I was just going to do a quick update. I am on chapter 10
in Tainted Grail.
Of Tainted Grail.
Nice.
So I keep making through that. I keep making my way through that. I keep having some nice open Sundays. That's rare for me, but I keep having these days where I'm able to just kind of go play for a few hours, and I've been busting through that. Fantastic game. Love the narrative story. I'm super, super invested in where the story's going and how it's going to turn out. Perhaps the only other game that has intrigued me more from a storytelling perspective is Etherfields, and probably Oathsworn.
Oathsworn's great.
So, but amazing. And as soon as I finish it, I will give a more thorough review. But those are some of my highlights.
All right, let's jump into our top 5 deduction games. And I'm curious to see how many of Nathan's top 5, 6, or 7 are social deduction games versus logic deduction. I have a suspicion, not that because the list isn't in front of me anymore, but I have a suspicion that you're going to have more social deduction games than logic deduction games.
I think you're probably right.
Probably right.
Not that there's anything wrong with the deduction games, but
the logic deduction games, you mean, or the social deduction games?
Logic deduction.
There's definitely not really much wrong with those.
But social deduction games are way fun. Way more fun.
All right, who wants to start us off? Number 5.
I think we start with number 6.
Oh, that's right. Number 6. Nathan, start us off with number 6.
So number 6 was my old number 5, and number 5 is alive. And that's Salem 1692. We talked quite a bit about that last week. I really like Salem. I totally omitted PI from my list last week. PI is my number 5. I love PI. The whole deduction of the game where you're trying to solve those clues and gather that information. I make a little sheet so I can keep track of what I found, where I found, and what I've eliminated. PI is just great. 2 thumbs up.
Awesome. I want to say I like PI. I really do.
I love PI. That is great.
I can't get into it. I don't know why.
Because you don't like fun.
That could be. That could be, Nathan. Well, my number 5 is the exit games. Now, the exit games I put on here because those are the ones I've played. I have never played any of the unlock games.
Oh, you
We
are
need to
kidding.
fix that.
No,
You have not played any?
not a single one.
This is totally news to me.
Yeah. So those might take the place of the exit games. I don't know.
I think they will.
Okay.
I mean,
There's a
I
little
can't say for
blister
sure.
pack over there. After we're done, we're going to try that little 10-card blister pack.
It's a little tutorial.
Yeah,
It's not that impressive, but it does teach you the system.
gives you a little bit of that flavor.
Okay. We'll have to try it. But since I haven't tried the unlock series or the unlock games, then as of right now, the exit games are my number 5.
Okay.
And I've had fun with them. The few times we've played the exit games, they've been great. I've had fun. I like the puzzly deduction cooperative part of that. But once again, like we talked about last week, 3 players tops.
Yeah,
We played
that
it
makes
with-
a big difference.
We played it with 4 and 4 was too many.
Yeah, I've played the exit games with 3, and that was 1 too many. But
I've only played 2 of them. They were okay. I've talked about this before. This is a total Doug thing. I just have a problem with all the destruction of components. Like, legacy games are different. We've had this
Okay.
conversation. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Legacy games are different because it's this big, epic experience. I'm okay with that. You're going to get tons of play out of the components and everything that's in that box. With Exit, it's this little box. You're not out like a ton of money, but you are ruining that experience. Like, once you've done it, it's done. It goes in the trash. And when I compare that to something like Unlock, which is just put all the cards back in order and hand it to a friend, I like that so much better. I also just like the Unlock system. I mean, it is genuinely better. It's not just that, but weird. Like, I completely recognize that this is maybe just a total Doug thing.
It's not.
But destroying all the components and writing on them and cutting them up and all that, it bugs me.
I have a hard time doing that with legacy games.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
I don't have any issues doing that with exit games. I don't have any issues doing that with legacy games.
Let me preface that. I have a hard time doing that with most legacy games. Now, Seafall, maybe there's an exception, but that's probably the only one.
Seafall doesn't like you either. All
Anyway,
right.
that's my number 5.
Hey, now, don't start that again.
All right, Doug, what's your number 5?
All right, my number 5 is Bang the Dice Game. So Bang the Dice Game was a game that I acquired actually pretty early on in my board game acquisition journey, shall we call it? You know, one of the first dozen
Starter drugs.
Yeah, for sure. It was probably one of the first dozen or so games that I bought and played a lot with my family. I do genuinely enjoy the dice game in particular. The card game, you know, it's okay, and we've had friends that really like that. We've played it. It's fine. The dice game, I think,
is superior.
It really is very fun. You know, one person's the renegade. You got some people, the outlaws, the sheriff and his deputies, and how that all works. Sheriff and deputies, they got to take out the outlaws. Outlaws need to take out the sheriff and deputy. Renegade has to be the last man standing. But there's the really fun social deduction part of that game where, other than the sheriff, when the game starts, you really don't know who people are. You got the whole hidden roll thing going on, the dice chucking and that sort of Yahtzee style re-roll system. You know, it never gets old. It's just fun chucking dice and shooting the people next to you, and it's a pretty good time. There's
Quick, easy fun.
Yeah, and there's 2 expansions for this game. There's Old Saloon, which I think you should always play with 100%. You always play with the Old Saloon expansion. It introduces the Coward dice and the Bragger dice or the Boaster dice or something like that. I can't remember. And those add quite a lot to the experience that I think you need. There's another expansion called Undead or Alive. Not that it's a bad expansion, but I can totally take or leave it. But you should always play with Old Saloon. And it'll accommodate, I believe, up to 9 players. It might be 10. So you can have a lot of people at the table. And even though it is a player elimination game, it goes super fast, so most people don't care.
I totally approve and will allow you to put this on your top 5.
Well, thank you so much. Your approval means everything to me.
It does. And funny thing is, I actually didn't have either of those expansions. So guess what somebody's picking up?
Are you sure? I'm positive I have seen those on your shelf somewhere before.
I think so.
Okay. Well, we interrupt this podcast for Nathan to do some shopping.
Copy 2 and 3 of those expansions. I'm sure they're on the shelf somewhere.
All right. So my number 4 is, sorry, I got to get back to my
You got to
other
leave.
list.
You
I
got to
gotta
leave the
stop
shopping page, and you
Yep.
got to go back to the notes.
Gotta
Yep.
go back to the notes. My apologies. So my number 4 is Don't Mess with Cthulhu. Don't Mess with Cthulhu is a take of Time Bomb Evolution, but includes the Cthulhu theme, and I love this game. It's quick, simple, deduction, boom, redeal.
Heavy social component.
Very much heavy social component, but a very quick 10-minute game. It's maybe not quite 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes.
So I'm curious,
Yes.
as much as you love PI, why did this beat out PI?
Probably because of the quickness of it and
Okay.
the replayability, the intense fun. I mean, I love the puzzle of PI, so it kind of scratches that deduction itch, where Don't Mess with Cthulhu has that deduction, and it brings in a lot of that
It's-
social fun.
100% the social part of it, Andy.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
you're right.
Yeah. PI is much more of a pure deduction, whereas this is the social shenanigans.
Social shenanigans.
And Nathan loves his social shenanigans.
He does indeed. But yeah, that's my number 4.
All right.
I considered this for my list, but I've only played it once. So
Oh, really?
I didn't feel like I could. I had experienced it enough to throw it on there. But the one time I did play it, it was great.
Yeah. Well, we need to fix that.
I think I've only played it once too, and it was okay.
It was okay.
You make my heart sad.
All right, Andy. Well, tell us about your number 4 then.
My number 4 is Mysterium.
This is a good pick. This is a good one.
Yeah, I've had some awesome experiences with this game. The artwork, we talked a little bit about this last week. Similar to Dixit, the artwork is just fun. I enjoy being the ghost more than the investigators in this, or more than the psychics in this, just because it's kind of fun to listen to everybody and what they're trying to pick out and try to give clues to people that you think is going to be meaningful, and then they go completely the other direction.
Yeah. Do you like playing the psychic, or do you like being one of the other players? What do you like more?
I like being the one giving the clues. So
You just said
the
he was
ghost.
Oh, the ghost.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
ghost.
that's what. Yeah. Okay.
So
You said that.
I did.
That's how close I was paying attention.
I prefer that actually. I think it's a lot of fun. It's not that I mind being one of the psychics that's receiving the clues, but the ghost for me is so much more enjoyable. I like the fact that, sometimes you have to give a clue to somebody and you're waiting for cards. It's like, I really need to give a clue to this person, but all of these cards stink. They're the last player. You have to give them a clue, and at least the game gives you an out with a little crows. You discard a crow token, discard as many cards as you want. The problem is there's some cards that you're like, I got to hold on to this to the end of the game, because you only have one clue for each item you're trying to give a clue for. It's like, this is perfect. And you're holding on to that one card all game long. Different challenge being the ghost versus being the psychics in it. And I enjoy the challenge more of the ghost than the psychics themselves. Now, my kids, on the other hand, a lot of them, they would hate being the ghost, prefer being the psychic.
A lot of people have that anxiety challenge to it. It's right. It's the same thing with like code names.
Yeah.
People love to play code names, but don't ever ask me to be the code giver.
Right.
Interesting. It must be genetic or something. I don't know, because my kids, they fight over who gets to be the ghost. What they all want to do. Yeah. They all like to be the clue giver. They get it from
All
their
my
mom.
family would hate being the code giver.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that's funny. I really like Mysterium. This has a couple of little expansions that go in it, and I haven't played with them yet, and I would like to. This is a game I'd actually like to revisit this at some point.
It's a great game.
Yeah, I like it. Well, my number 4 was the Unlock games.
Oh, we kind of slaughtered that and jumped ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. We did kind of talk about it, but it's all good. There's so many of them to talk about. I'm okay with it. So I just really like this system. I think the Unlock system is great. I love that it's not just an escape room in a box, but I like how most of the Unlock games can be found in like a 3-pack. They're usually not very expensive.
Right.
And you get 3 big decks of cards in there. You get 3 mysteries to solve, like an easier one, a medium one, and a hard one, all in one box. So they give you a whole variety of things you can do. When you're done with them, you can pack them all back up and trade them or give them to a friend or something like that. They can all be re-experienced after they're reassembled. For the most part, they're incredibly clever. Most of them that I have played make the players feel clever. Like the puzzles are not overly challenging when you get them. When you solve the puzzle and sort of figure it out, it does make you feel like you were stretching for it a little bit, and that feels good.
Yeah, for sure. That's I think that's a sign of a good game. When you can make the players feel clever, but you're not too clever for your own britches.
Yeah. I mean, we ran into that issue with the break-in. And,
totally.
which was an exceptionally well done game.
The production was awesome.
Yeah, but we left us scratching our head way too many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of Unlock and Mysterium, one of the boxes that Nathan has still in shrink over on the shelf over there is the one where they did like, it's got Pandemic and Mysterium, and I think there's one other in that box, but they are board game themed Unlock adventures. And that's one I really want to get to the table.
One looks like Werewolf too.
Okay, sure.
Could be.
Yeah, it might be.
All right. So is that all of us?
Yeah, we're on
Yeah,
number 3.
Number 3.
We're flying through this. This is actually a rather new acquisition for me, but instant fun. I played the deluxe edition, and
Nathan has so many issues.
was very bummed out and picked up the boring edition.
Because you can't wait for the deluxe.
No, well, it wasn't available. I didn't know it was going to be available, and I cried myself to sleep several times. But then I was able to acquire Feed the Kraken Deluxe Edition happiness. There was rainbows, there was unicorns, and all sorts of magic that happened in my life that day.
And you sent that ho-hum version just packing.
Just got rid of it as quick as I could.
Chucked it right out the window.
Yeah. I'm going to do the same thing with Planet Unknown. When I get my get rid of my boring version, when I get my new version with a lid.
You know, they did just have the lid that sold separately, right?
Shut up. And but it was missing some stuff. It wasn't
Yeah,
deluxe.
like a lid.
There's other components in there too.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But anyways, Feed the Kraken is awesome. You have 3 teams. You have the sailors, the pirates, and the cultists. And the pirates want to get to one island. The sailors want to get to the other island. The cultist wants to shoot it right up the middle and go between the islands. Or, better yet, get themselves thrown overboard, fed to the Kraken, and raise the Kraken and rule. Or actually probably be subjected by the Kraken. But anyways, super fun. And the nice thing about it is it's one of these epic long, or it's not one of these epic long social deduction games where it lasts forever. It's really quick.
Yeah, even with a higher player count,
Yeah.
pretty fast.
60 to 90 minutes at the very most, and just good, clean fun.
So I find it interesting that you said once you got your deluxe version, you saw unicorns, because this game is the unicorn of social deduction games, in my opinion.
Is it?
It is one that I have actually enjoyed every single time I've played it.
Yeah, and
it's really
rare
well done.
for you.
Yeah, it is. They're not my favorite games, and every time we've played it, I've had a blast. It's been a ton of fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it too. Although the last time we played, I don't remember exactly what happened. It was a larger player count. I think there were 7 or 8 of us at the table. The way that the information came out for me, it was like, oh, pirate, pirate, pirate. Like I could point around the table and it was like, okay, you're a pirate, you're a pirate. Anyway. And so as the, I don't know, one of the good guys, the sailor, whatever. So I pointed that out. I was right. And it made some people at the table upset.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I was one of them too.
Yeah. It made our good friend Logan quite unhappy.
Oh, really?
And,
yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, he was really upset about that.
He was a little bitter about it.
Yeah, he was.
But I really enjoy this game a lot. I do find that deduction, and especially the way that it's mixed with the social, it's moving forward, but it's always that tug of war. Like, is it going to go right or left, or, straight for the Kraken? I enjoy it quite a bit, actually. It's good.
What I enjoy about it, and this is the social deduction part of it, which is surprising to me that this is the part I enjoy. But I really enjoy when you're the captain, you have to give the lieutenant and the navigator roles to somebody. So you really do have to decide, okay, is this person an ally, or is this person going to lead us astray? And you're gaining a little bit of information each time. People are really good at being deceitful.
Yeah.
And sometimes, right? Sometimes you're like, okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can't trust you. Or you're like, yeah, I'm on board. I trust you implicitly. The last time I played, I was sure Stacia was on my side, and she turned out to be a pirate. Totally duped me.
Yeah.
I can usually figure things out with as far as that goes, and yeah, I totally thought that I had it all wrong with her. She completely tricked me that she ended up being a pirate instead of a crew.
And it's funny, as we're talking about this actually, I'm far more anxious to replay this game than I am my 1 and 2 games.
Interesting.
So maybe I have that in the wrong position.
On the fly reshuffle of your list, perhaps. Yeah. Interesting. Andy, what's your number 3?
My number 3, I'm sharing with you, Doug.
Nice.
We have the same number 3.
This is a same. I didn't even realize that till right now.
Synced right up.
We did.
Nice. Same number crossover. Obscurio.
So we played this. My gosh, Nathan, it's been how long?
Oh, it's been a long time ago. When did that first come out? I'm going to check that out.
It has been a long time since we played this, but I remember when we played it, I thought, okay, I love Mysterium.
Mm-hmm.
This has such a feel of Mysterium, but I enjoyed it so much more. And don't get me wrong, I like Mysterium a lot. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did Mysterium. I enjoyed the theme. I enjoyed trying to, the way the clues were given, where you're focus on this area. And I don't know. I thought it was a lot more fun.
It is really cool.
By the way.
You're the Tome or something like that.
Yes.
One player's like the Tome.
The Grimoire.
Thank you, the Grimoire. And everybody else is trying to play like the wizards trying to escape the library, except there's one traitor among them. And I really like how, the traitor gets to add art to the book.
Yeah.
Before it gets shown to everybody. It has that same abstract art that a lot of these games do that's really, really fun, except they're kind of those cool round cards that slide in. I also really like every round there's something that kind of comes in that can challenge the person giving clues, or it challenges the people trying to escape. You have like the filters that can go over.
Yes.
Or use one image, or there are just these little things that shake it up in ways that make it a little more challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And that's one of the aspects I liked about it, is they added the ways to make it so focus on this area as I'm giving the clue, but yet we're going to throw some twist in there that's going to completely foil your plans on what you wanted to the information you wanted to share. It's a great game.
At the time, I was like, oh, this replaces Mysterium, because I liked it that much. And then we played Mysterium, and I was like, okay, Mysterium still has a place on the shelf, because Mysterium is really good.
I agree.
But both of these are excellent. Obscurio, which will take us to Nathan's number 2.
All right. Number 2 is one of my... Well, it's actually my second favorite social deduction game.
Really?
It is.
Except maybe not, because you're reshuffling?
I don't know. It's still a great game. And actually, now that I'm starting to talk about it, I kind of want to play it again, too. And that is Shadows over Camelot.
Nathan, I really love the scientific approach you take to your top 5s. I really appreciate that.
There's a lot of feeling that goes into my science. But Shadows over Camelot, it's a hidden role game. This one, you may or may not have a traitor, but you're Knights of the Round Table, and you are trying to go out on different quests, collect items that are both going to help you, but if you're the traitor, sometimes they will help you even more. And just, I always love the element of, are we on the same team or not? And, there's games out there that are, kind of in the same vein, but didn't quite get it to the way these others did, like Dead of Winter, Freelancers. I mean, they both do that really well. Shadows over Camelot, classic one nowadays, and it just does it well. And it has that whole fantasy theme, which is nice for sure. Fighting off the catapults at the gates, getting Lancelot's armor.
I like the asymmetrical abilities
of the knights,
of each of the knights. I really enjoy that part of it. I don't know how you're going to play it without your catapults, though.
Do you still have my catapults?
Yeah, I still have your catapults. I keep forgetting they're in the game room waiting to give you when you come over for game night, and I keep forgetting to give them to you.
Well, now that I'm aware of that, I'll try to remember, but I'm not very reliable to remember. So,
well, apparently I'm not either.
This is one I would genuinely love to try sometime. I haven't had a chance to play this.
Seriously?
Yeah. No, I haven't.
My goodness.
Not played it. It has been... So what do you call a game that's like... Okay, the term, it's a grail game.
Right.
But that's more like something that's out of print that I really want to acquire This is one that's like out of print. I'm not necessarily looking to acquire. I just really want to play it. For me, I have like, a list of those types of games. Great to knock this one off that list. I really do want to try this.
I don't know. It could be appropriate to call this a Grail game.
I just realized that as you did. Nice.
I think you would actually like this, Doug. My least favorite part is the hidden roll part of it. I like the cooperative where you're trying to beat the game and trying to win together.
Which is a challenge in itself, right?
It is. The game's tough. Very easily lose, even if you don't have a trader.
Yeah.
Throw a trader in the mix and it can make it even that much tougher. This is one of those games where I enjoy the cooperative part of it enough that I hate the fact that I'm like, can I even trust you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't like that part of it. Some people probably really do,
that.
but that's one aspect I just don't care for. The game itself is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it though.
Yeah. And if you are sissy, you can play it without the trader.
I've never done that, but
Good.
good.
All right.
All right. My number 2 is going to be held off because it's the same as Doug's number 1.
Oh yeah, we did have some crossover. Okay, we'll talk about it when I get to number 1. So my number 2 is Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. I love this game.
This is a good game.
Yeah, and this is one that I've had an incredibly high amount of success teaching to new players. I find that new players, I would include this on like a gateway game list. I don't know if it would be top 5, but it would be on, it would definitely be in like a gateway game conversation for me because I've had that much luck. I like the way this game is set up. I like that everybody gets, a variety of murder weapons and that everybody gets, key pieces of evidence. I like that the forensic scientist who's giving the clues has to kind of choose from these vague boards of information. Some are more helpful than others, but when taken in aggregate, they make players at the table really think about sort of the story that has gone into like what has happened, why the murder took place, where it took place. This game is definitely better at higher player counts.
For sure.
Because you can include all the roles, and that is when a lot of fun ensues. Because you've got the murderer and his accomplice, his or her accomplice. And you've got the witness, and then witness protection. And there's a few other little roles in there that kind of change things up and allow certain people to get certain pieces of information. But the finger pointing and the especially when you're the clue giver and kind of who's who, you can see how some people are playing the game. It's kind of fun to see people when they're dumb, and it's kind of fun to see people when they're super clever about that.
Yeah.
Every single time we play this game, there's just a ton of fun that is had at the table. So yeah. I really like it.
This is one that we used to run at SaltCon when we first started doing events at Meeple Nation.
We're running it this year too.
And we're running it this year too, yeah. We would put everybody on the table and everybody had to stand up because it was a stand-up only game because we're all going to be squished in there. And we would always have everybody walk around the table so you could kind of see what everybody else had out there. Because if you were the murderer, you didn't want to use poison and have the only poison out there. Kind of get a sense of what's on the table. People would be watching just a bunch of 12 people circling around this table as they going around trying to find out what's on the table. But Deception, Murder in Hong Kong is a great game.
I agree. So it's my number 2.
I've never played it.
Well, we're gonna remedy that.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you into that game at SaltCon or one of the practice games before SaltCon.
Okay.
Yeah, we should do that for sure. So many games that some of us are missing. All right, number 1.
Number 1.
Here it is.
And
number.
There it goes as I spill my water on my computer.
Now, I will just say this, Nathan. If people don't know what your number 1 is, I would make the argument that they have not been paying attention.
Well, I haven't talked about it for a while.
Dude, you talk about this all the time.
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
you bring it up
almost as much
often
as I do Star Wars Imperial Assault.
You know what? Doug brings up a good point. We probably should just skip this.
All right. That's it. Andy, your number 1.
What I'm saying is we have to drag this on as long as possible because it's your list and we can't say what it is.
Can't say what the game is, right?
Bury that lead for as long as possible.
So it's not unfathomable, but it is Battlestar Galactica.
But it should be unfathomable.
No, Battlestar Galactica, the board game, is great. A ton of expansions. For some, muddy the water. For others, excite the game. And for others who watch the show, really kind of pull in all those themes. I actually never watched the show, but I'm very much enjoyed this game. In fact, this is a game that isn't even technically mine. Brent, one of the original hosts, he bought this game. Then I bought all the expansions. And so he's finally just kind of like, this is your game. No, it's no longer my game. This is your game. Battlestar Galactica, the board game, is amazing. It's very similar, I feel, as Shadows over Camelot. And it's kind of funny that I see them as very similar, but there's people on both sides that are very much Shadows over Camelot is superior, Battlestar Galactica is superior, and they're not alike at all. And I'm like, they're very much alike, and they're both awesome. But Battlestar Galactica is a little bit more fun. There's a little bit more to do with the cards and the challenge and the being able to hide yourself if you're the Cylon, and a lot more effort to try to root out who is the Cylon if you're not a Cylon. Makes it a superior game. Had a ton of amazing experiences playing Battlestar Galactica, the board game. Just don't ask Dave about any of them.
That was, I think, my last play of Battlestar Galactica, actually. That was hilarious. So this is based on the remake of the original series. Did you never even watch the original series?
No, I watched the original series, but it was years ago. And the only thing I remember about that was Daggett.
By your command.
Oh, yeah. That's phrase from there, from the Cylons. But yeah. And
cool story.
Yeah, cool story. But
I haven't seen any of it.
Haven't you?
No. I never got into Battlestar Galactica.
I've seen the entire original series. I've never seen, like you, I haven't seen the remake at all.
Yeah.
It's a good game. I like Battlestar. I've had fun with it. As far as hidden role games, it's probably one of my favorites. I think in that way, it is different for me than Shadows over Camelot, because I don't mind the hidden role part. Whereas in Shadows over Camelot, I hate the hidden role part. Yeah.
Go on.
I think it's because I feel like the teamwork is more solid in Shadows over Camelot than it is in Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
And because you're working closer together, it stings a little more when there's a traitor.
Yeah. Because there's more, you have to really more rely on people in Shadows, because you're doing you're fighting off the Picts, the Saxons, and even the Grail. You have to really rely on people. Whereas more Shadows or more Battlestar Galactica, it's kind of a little bit not necessarily easier to root out, but
you can do your own thing, and it's not. Yeah, I mean, there's lots to do. There's a lot of mitigation that you have to do in the game, but it's not. You're not working quite so closely together. Plus, a lot of the abilities, I know, like King Arthur, for example, his ability directly is helping other players in the game, right? And you don't get quite as much of that in Battlestar either. So I think because there's closer player interaction, I think that's why I don't like the hidden role quite so much. I think it's fine in Battlestar. I think it's actually really well done in Battlestar Galactica.
And I've never had this kind of an insight as to that, but I think you're very spot on. I like that.
I only got to play Battlestar Galactica once, and the whole time we were playing it, I remember thinking it's good, but it felt clunky. And the whole time we were playing it, I was just like, this really needs to be streamlined. This seems kind of messy. And then we played Unfathomable, and I was like, oh, there it is. Yeah. There's the streamlining I was looking for.
It'd probably been a long time since we played. Rules were rusty, and we were probably inadvertently including items from expansions that probably shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, definitely could have been some of that. And some of it was a couple of the people at the table did not pay any attention at all to the teach, and almost had to be like retaught the game every time it was their turn. Yeah. And that got a little old. So that contributed to it for sure. But
we should try it again sometime.
If it's the right people at the table, I'm totally down with that. Definitely not one where my experience soured it for me at all. Again, like I said, now that Unfathomable's here, which is also a theme that I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm not familiar with Battlestar Galactica, and it's not like just because it has the Cthulhu theme on it that it's an automatic win for me. But that's at least a theme I know a little bit more about.
Yeah.
And so it's a little more familiar. I think those two things kind of combined. I really enjoyed our play of Unfathomable. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, we need to play that again too.
For sure. And that has an expansion coming out soon too.
I know. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, it'll be good.
All right, but that's my number one, Battlestar Galactica, the board game.
All right, good pick. I'm surprised that my number one didn't make Nathan's list.
You're
It's number
the worst
7.
game ever.
It's number 7.
You missed the news episode, Andy, where introduce your game and I'll talk about the news episode.
My number one is Alchemist. This game, whenever I think about it, it makes me smile because my daughter Amara was obsessed with playing this game for years. We need to play Alchemist again, Dad. We need to play Alchemist. I don't know why she loves the game so much because she struggles trying to figure out.
I can relate.
So what you're trying to do, there are ingredients in the game and you're trying to figure out the properties of, there's a blue property, a green, and a red, and it's going to either be positive or negative, and you're trying to figure out the properties of as many of these different components of as many of these
Combinations? Reactions?
what's the word I'm looking for? Not the components.
Like the traits.
Let's not herbs. Not herbs. What are they called?
Ingredients.
Ingredients. Thank you.
Ooh, I knew I was going to get there. I knew it was going to help him out. I could feel it.
You're amazing, Doug. You are amazing, Doug. You're trying to figure out the traits of as many of the ingredients in the game that you're making these potions with as possible. You're trying to publish, this is what I think it is, which means you have to get the deduction fairly close, fairly quickly in the game so that you can start publishing things and saying, hey, this is this one, this is this one, this is this one, because time runs out really fast. But you're drinking potions. There's a great app that is used with it as you're drinking potions. You can test potions out on students, and which also is kind of a cool theme. So if you're the first person to test it out on a student, it doesn't cost you anything. But if you gave them a negative potion, then everybody after that has to pay that student to drink the potion because he's like, yeah, I'm out. Oh, you're going to pay me? Okay. Yeah, I'll drink it. But the deduction part of it is I have really enjoyed it. It gives you a sheet. You have a dashboard that kind of hides what you're deducing so nobody else can see what you're doing. Combining 2 ingredients to make a potion. You use the app. It tells you what kind of potion you create. You mark it on there, and then you're marking things off on your sheet to try to figure out exactly what the traits are. And so you're getting information for 2 different ingredients every single time you create a potion. I think it's a great game. I think it's fun. Every time I play it, I kind of learn something new on how to better deduce the ingredients. But poor Nathan really struggled in this game.
Yes. Struggled is an understatement.
I don't know if I've ever seen you as angry after a game got over.
I'm not angry at the game, angry at myself because I couldn't figure out anything. And now I'm drawing a blank. I couldn't find the game I wanted to tell you about. But there is a simpleton version of Alchemist that is out there.
It's like the My Little Alchemists.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. And so it's my flavor of Alchemist.
Wow.
It's only like a half an hour and I can't find it, which embarrasses me. So that was on the news, that one of the news episodes that you missed because you were working like a demon.
That's true.
Just to be clear, this one is not going to replace Battlestar Galactica's number 1 for you?
No.
That's surprising.
Wow.
And it is Little Alchemists.
Little Alchemist.
Lil.
That's cute.
Lil Alchemist.
Little Alchemist.
L-I-L.
And it's 15 to 30 minutes.
Right up your alley, huh?
My flavor of Alchemist. Yes.
That is awesome.
Anyway, that's my number 1. I've had a good time. Lots of fun plays of that game.
Excellent.
I'm glad for you.
Well, my number 1, which was Andy's number 2, is Chronicles of Crime. I really think that Lucky Duck did a fantastic job with this particular game, and I think that they have continued to evolve and develop the franchise in some really fun, unique, and incredible ways. Now, I will say the Millennium Edition, like it's the 1400, 1900, and 2400. I think that is definitely the superior version when it comes right down to it. Now,
100%.
Now, my personal favorite is the Chronicles of Crime Noir. I really like the stories. I like the abilities that the detective had, and I liked kind of the more gritty. I mean, I say adult, but not in like a really risque kind of way. Just slightly more adult story. You know, it was, like I said, just maybe a little more gritty, a little more dark, a little more real.
Maybe more like the DC instead of the Marvel version.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great comparison. Yep. But it also just had some mechanical things that I also really liked. As the detective, you have the option to intimidate people, to beat them up, to bribe, right? You got to track your money. There's some things that it does that the other games just do. Could spend a significant amount of time here talking about the incredible app that runs this game. Really fun to use the 3D glasses with that app. Basically, it gives you a crime scene, and so you can hold it up to your eyes, and as you move around, whether it's a tablet or a phone, whether you're using glasses or not, it moves with you. So as you are rotating around, you're scanning the room, you're looking for clues, you're calling those out. Other people are trying to find cards that represent the stuff that you're observing in the room as fast as possible, so that you can start to suss out what is going on in this crime scene and try to put the pieces to the puzzle together. I think that it is fantastic. Now, I do wish, this is my little personal wish. I do wish that they had a special crime scene mode for this game where you could have the option of being able to like revisit the crime scene as many times as you want without it deducing time from the game. Because when I play with my kids, they all want to see the crime scene, right? And even though, because every time you look at it, you are wasting time because your time is tracked in the game, but we're not going to move past it, right? We're not moving past it until all the kids have had a chance with the glasses and have been able to look around the room kind of thing. So that would just be my own little personal thing I would add, is just like a no penalty for multiple looks at the crime scene mode, like a little option you could...
Family mode.
Yeah, family mode. Sure. Let's go with that. But Chronicles of Crime is fantastic. I love the deduction. I love the way the cards work, the way you're kind of piecing them all together, and you're scanning the QR codes and seeing, what goes with what, and you're going around to different locations and relying on your experts and to deduce what has gone on.
Not to mention the red herrings that they throw in there at you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's lots of red herrings. And when it comes time to solve the crime, some players may struggle a little bit because you may not get it all right, but you're still going to get a score based on how much you did get right. So it may bug some players because, in real life, it's like, we either solved the crime or we didn't. And in Chronicles of Crime, it is not necessarily quite that way. Score as many points as you can based on the information. Close enough. Like, we put him behind bars. Probably
the right guy.
But really love Chronicles of Crime. And if you haven't played it, I do think you're missing out.
Excellent. Well, that is an awesome top 5.
It is an awesome top 5.
6. Yeah.
6, 7.
I kept it to 6.
Good job.
Pushing that envelope.
You are such a rebel.
I don't know where that was.
Wow.
Ooh, all right. And on that note, until next time.
We'll see you on the top 6 board games out there.
Rawr.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/Meeple Nation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of Werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_Nation, or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.